now I have worked the rows with increases for both the neckline and raglan, the number of times that was specified in the pattern. So now you can see more clearly the construction of the sweater with the 4 raglan stitches here and increases on each side, as well as the slope we've created to shape the neckline opening, because the head's going to be there. This is going to be like in the front or the chest. So we really want that slope to ensure a good fit on the sweater. So the next step now is to knit 1 row, not increasing for the neckline anymore, but for the raglan increases, and then joining in the front to continue and knit in the round. So you're essentially just doing the same as you've done before, but instead of knitting the first stitch and then increasing, you're just knitting until the first raglan stitch, which is your first stitch marker. Like this, and then increasing for raglan as you've done so far, with increasing or making 1 left on the right side of the raglan stitch, and then increasing 1 left. And you're repeating that for all 4 raglan stitches. So now I've increased here, and the reason for increasing on this row also for raglan is that you're going to increase for raglan on every other row or every other round. So since you're purling back, this is an increase row again. Let's see, like this. Then reaching the raglan stitch between the back piece and the right sleeve, and increasing again. And then increasing on each side of the last raglan stitch as such, and then knitting the remaining stitches. So when you reach the end of the row, instead of purling back as you've done so far, you're continuing to knit in the round. So you can use the cast on method that you wish, but the backwards loop method works really well in this case. That means with your working yarn, you place it around your thumb to make a loop, and you're placing that loop on your needle or threading the needle through the loop and then tightening. So now you've made 1 stitch, and repeating for as many stitches as the pattern states that you're going to cast on mid front or in the front of the neck. In my case, 7. So now I'll cast it on 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. And the stitch count obviously depends on the size of the sweater that you're knitting, and of course the yarn that you're using. So after casting on as many stitches as the pattern states, 2, 4, 6, I was missing 1, 7, I am joining to knit in the round. My needle is a bit too long, so I'm just going to do like this to make sure that I can reach the stitches. This is similar to the magic loop method, but if you have a shorter needle, that will be more convenient, but I don't, so I'm just going to do this. And to join, to work in the round, it's really simple. With your working yarn, which is on your right needle, you knit the first stitch like this, and you can tighten a bit more. And I'm just going to knit a few stitches to be able to see what we're doing here. If my needle will cooperate. So the wire makes it a bit difficult. Let's see. This is now your sweater. This is mid-front neck, and this is the neckline opening. It looks a bit crooked now because of the wire, but from now on you're continuing to knit in the round with raglan increases for every other row. So the pattern states that you can place a stitch marker to mark the beginning of the round to make it easier to keep track if you're on an increased round or a knit round. So you can either use like a different color. Usually I just grab 2 stitch markers and then placing one of them on the other like this, and then placing the stitch marker. You can place it anywhere here actually, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to do like this. And now I know where the beginning of the round is, and when I reach that, I've knitted 1 full round, so then I know if I'm going to increase for the next round or not. Since we increased on the row that we joined in the front, we're not going to increase on this round. So this is a knit round. I can make a video of how to see on the kind of geometry of the stitch if you're on a knit round or increase round as well, but essentially you can see the strand here that we picked up on the previous round from the round below. So this is a stitch where I increased. So since we are increasing on every other row, this is a knit row, because this is the increase, then a knit, and then the next round I'm going to increase again. So slipping the marker, same here. So now it's all knit stitches until you reach the beginning of the round again. And then you're continuing with increases on each side of all 4 raglan stitches as you've done so far. And now you just reach the kind of mindfulness knitting part of the working raglan sweaters from the top down, because now you just have hours of stockinette stitch with some increases ahead. And voila! Your sweater is now joined in the round. And the next step will be knitting several raglan increases and then eventually placing the sleeve stitches on hold. Now I've knitted over all stitches almost, but I've reached the stitches that I casted on using the backwards loop method on the previous round, and they can be a bit depending on the yarn you're using and the needles, of course, but they can be a bit tricky to get the hold of, because if you're typing like this, the next stitch you're going to knit will be really tight. So my recommendation is just use your left thumb to like lift the stitch a bit and try to not like tighten it like this, but lift the stitch a bit so you're able to knit it. Same with the next one. Then it's easier to reach into the stitch. And this is only for the first round, and for the next round the stitches is going to be like a regular stitch, so like this. And this one as well, I don't know how that got here, but we'll fix it when we're picking up for the neckline and it won't show at all. So now I've soon reached the beginning of the round, which is this marker again, which means that this round I'm going to increase for the raglan again on all 4 places, and then continue doing this as many times as the pattern states to finish the yoke of this sweater.